All right, today we're going to create a foldable that's talking about angles and the angle measurements. So everyone should have a circle and have it cut out, okay? And I want you to think about for a minute how many total degrees are inside of a circle. There are 360 degrees inside of a total circle. Very good. So I want you to go ahead and take that circle and fold it in half, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to go ahead and fold it in half. So if we fold it in half, what do we think half of a circle would measure? Well, half of 360 is 180. So half of a circle would equal 180 degrees. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and we want to go ahead and take that half a circle and fold it in half again. So remember, right here we had 180 degrees. So fold it again. And we have half of 180 degrees. And half of 180 degrees, makes a right angle in the corner. And a right angle is that perfect square in the corner. And the measurement of a right angle is 90 degrees. Absolutely. 90 degrees. So we're going to open this back up all the way to 360 degrees. And we're going to label our parts. I want you to go ahead and take a color. Okay. And I want you to highlight straight across. And we know that a straight angle, okay, is this whole thing right here, which is half. So this straight line should measure 180 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my arrows around so that you see that the measurement of this arrow is equivalent to 180 degrees. And that little circle is a symbol for degrees. Okay? Now, when we have two angles that add up to 180, we call those supplementary angles. So I'm going to make an angle here. So this purple angle, okay, and this purple angle together are going to add up to 180, and that means they're supplementary. So let's say, for example, that this measurement of this angle is 110 degrees, and this one is X degrees. Okay? We just talked about supplementary angles. Let's go ahead and make a note of that. Supplementary angles . Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees, okay? All right? Supplementary adds up to 180 degrees. So let's look. If we know that our purple angles, both of those angles together add up to 180, how much of that angle have we already used? Yeah, we've already used 110. So if we look at it algebraically, we know that x plus 110 should equal 180. So this is a way to look at it as an equation. X plus 110 equals 180. But we've already used 110. So look, this brings you back to solving one-step equations. I have to get the x all by itself by doing the inverse. The inverse is the opposite. The opposite of adding 110 is subtracting 110 on both sides. That cancels, leaving us x equals, and 180 minus 110 gives us 70. So x equals 70 degrees. So this missing measurement right here is 70 degrees. Now, we're going to talk about the opposite of supplementary, okay? I want you to take and fold it back, and we're going to go to this right here. If you give someone a compliment, you're being nice to them, okay? So we're going to think about that when we talk about complementary angles. So I want you to get another color, and I want you to make this angle. And I'm creating two pieces, two sections, okay? So I know that complementary angles, we said compliment. If I give you a compliment and say, I like that shirt, a compliment means you're being nice to someone. The word nice starts with an N, and guess what? The value of complementary angles starts with an N. And take a look at that. Complementary, it adds up to 90 degrees. You got it. So 90 starts with N and nice starts with N. So if you give a compliment, you are being nice, and complementary angle is 90 degrees. So all the way throughout this, so this angle plus this angle plus this angle should equal 90 degrees, both of those angles together, okay? So let's say, for example, the bigger portion of our green, let's say that this portion right here is 60 degrees, okay? I know it's squeezed in there, but it's 60 degrees, so look where my finger's pointing and make sure you write 60 degrees. We know that if this angle and this angle equal 90 degrees, we can go ahead and write our equation. We know, let me put our variable here, x, that says x degrees. So we know that 60 plus x should give us 90 degrees, and we should know that those are complementary. So we have to isolate the variable, get the x all by itself by doing the opposite. So that gives us x is 30 degrees. Let's check that. If I put 30 degrees in this angle measurement, and this one was 60, is 60 plus 30 90? Yes, so those are complementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees. And the opposite of that is supplementary angles. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. Someone told me a trick for this one is if you look at the peas and you flipped them and looked around backwards, they look like 9s, okay? So they say 180. Okay, let's look at one more thing before we stop for today, for today's video. Let's go ahead and I want you to make intersecting lines on this one. We have to know one more thing about angles, and so we're going to use our last right angle in our circle to describe those. We're going to talk about vertical angles. Vertical means across from each other, so we're going to write vertical angles, okay? We're going to say that that means they are across from each other, and guess what? Vertical angles are congruent. So I'm going to write the word congruent, and yeah, I'm running out of room, but you can write some space on your notebook paper beside you if you need to. Vertical angles are across from each other, and they are congruent. So let's look at our visual representation right here, our angles. And we're going to use the symbols that we've already talked about before. If you look at 1, what is vertically across from 1? 3. You got it. So we could say that angle 1 is congruent. There's my symbol for congruent. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Very good. Now look at 4. Angle 4, what's the vertical angle that corresponds with 4? 2. Notice how I put 2 angle markings because that means that angle 2 and 4, since they are vertical angles, that means that they are congruent. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Nice job, okay? We have to know that these vertical angles are congruent.